What is up, everybody? It is Flashwing. So I wanted to talk about something in particular today that happened over the weekend and a conversation that resulted from it. And I thought you guys might find it a little interesting. So over the weekend, a friend of mine who, for the purposes of the story, because she told me the story in confidence, shall remain nameless, and some of the details will be obscure, so I apologize ahead of time for some of the vagueness. But a friend of mine approached me over the weekend because she was interested in some advice or my thoughts on a change that she's going to be making in her own life regarding her career, and whether or not I thought it was a good idea, and whether or not it's something that I might do myself. And my friend is, an intelligent, highly educated woman, and is, pursuing a career path in her particular field of education. And what she's looking to do is to go from doing the job in the career field that she's in now and getting into something more along the lines of social work, we'll say. And it's a pretty radical career change. Number one, because she would be going into an entry-level position within this social work aspect, that isn't the most highly paid and isn't necessarily anything prestigious, of course, but is along the lines of a career path that she really wants for herself, which is putting herself in the position where she can help people, and certainly where she can help people a lot more effectively than what she's doing right now. She presented me with this idea that she wants to pursue this new job. So of course the first thing that I asked her, knowing that this particular line of work doesn't pay very well, is, can you handle it within your budget? Which, she's like, well, maybe not, but ultimately her financial situation is one where she could weather the storm if she needed to, but it's a stepping stone in the right direction that she wanted to go. And she had made a decision, and as far as I know, she still hasn't made one. But, she's interviewing for this new position, and she wanted my advice ultimately because she thought it was a crazy idea. It's just not normally done to make a career change from where she's at now to where she wants to go. And I was upfront with her because I told her that I was probably not the best person to ask for advice on this particular issue because our professional goals are very different. I am a work to live person. I am not a live to work person. It's very different. If it were me, if it was ultimately something that I'm looking to do, I would personally try to find a way to do the kind of work that she wants to do now in kind of like a volunteer form. I would find a way to keep my day job so that I can keep making the money that I need to, do the things that I want to do, and I would find the time on my off hours to volunteer. And that was an option that she hadn't considered, and something that she certainly thought she would take under advisement. But she mentioned the word crazy, the notion of this change, that it would be considered crazy. And I stopped her. I said, now wait a minute. Well, crazy according to who? And, the discussion kind of expanded into societal norms and things like that. And we were, kind of sitting outside, and I just kind of said, you gotta look at this. Look at all these people. We're outside at a mall, and it's like, a lot of these people they're drones. They're cogs in the machine. And I told her, I said, you gotta understand, most of these people that are walking around, they follow the rules. And by rules, I mean, you grow up, you get a job, you work, you raise a family, and then you get old and you die. That's it. End of story. Don't do anything too dangerous. Don't do anything too outrageous. Don't call attention to yourself. Don't do this. Don't do that. That's what I think of when I hear the rules of society. There's all sorts of things that people would love to do, but they don't do out of fear, and sometimes that fear is because of societal rejection. So I told my friend, I said, now listen, you can't live your life from the perspective of what is and isn't considered crazy by society. Ultimately, this is a dream of yours. This is a desire that you have, and there's nothing crazy about following that. But from her perspective, it was crazy to quit a career that has some level of prestige and notoriety to it, and to pursue something that's a little bit more noble, but certainly doesn't carry the kind of prestige and status and all sorts of things like that within an area of social work. And I told her, I said, well, I get that, but what's crazier is not doing what you're passionate about. What's crazy is giving up on the opportunity to pursue something that you want simply because you're worried about what other people might think. I said, you have to stop that. You have to cut that out. And you need to focus on whether or not you're doing it because it's what you want to do. Forget everybody else. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks is or isn't crazy, because ultimately you're living your life for someone else at that point. You know, we all face these moments in our lives where we really ask ourselves, you know, should I go after this thing that I want? And it could be anything. It could be a goal, it could be career aspirations, it could be an experience of some kind. And there have no doubt been moments where all of you out there have wanted to do something that isn't considered mainstream. You know, it isn't something that everybody does. And no doubt you've probably paused at some point and thought to yourself, well, gosh, I mean, you know, what am are my parents gonna say? What are my friends gonna say? What are my coworkers gonna say? Any of these people who talk about, you know, what you should and shouldn't do or how to live your life properly, ultimately, they're no more or less intelligent than any of us, so how do they know what's right and wrong? My final answer to my friend was, would I do that personally? No, I wouldn't. Because, you know, for me, financial stability has been a really important goal. You know, but those are my goals, and so I made it very clear to her that I said, from my perspective, what you're doing is crazy, but not because of any kind of personal judgment. It's simply crazy because our goals are different. Our professional goals are different, especially. I said, but for you, if it's what you want, then that's what you should do. If that's what ultimately is your goal, then you have to start looking at the opportunity of today versus tomorrow. You know, as we get older, it gets more difficult to do things, not because you're getting older, but because you develop more responsibilities. You know, you get that significant other, you get kids, you get a career that demands more of your time. So I told her, I said, you may have to consider the fact that even though it might not put you in the best financial position, that this is the time to make that change, because as you get older, it just gets more difficult. You're going to have more responsibilities, and you know, if you're one of the primary breadwinners in a family and you got kids and stuff like that, that's really not the time to make a significant career change unless it's done out of necessity because of a job loss or because your skills are no longer marketable or things like that. You don't make those kinds of changes with lots of responsibilities unless you absolutely have to. You know, we all have those grand aspirations, but we're very rarely are we willing to do anything about it in pursuit of them. Like, it's crazy from my perspective, but that's okay, because if it's what you want, then ultimately that's what matters. It doesn't matter what I want. You know, I've got my own life to live. Thanks for riding with me today. So ultimately, live your life on your terms. Don't worry about what other people think. Do the things that you want to do. Follow the dreams and passions that you have. Don't let everybody else worry about living their lives, because trust me, none of us know any better than anybody else. Thanks for riding with me today, guys. We will see you out there.